Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a weight loss hypnosis session that deals with two, I would say, of the most important things that can really impact losing weight. One of them is momentum, and a lot of the time people have an unrealistic idea as to what it takes to lose weight, that they can imagine changing every single behavior, craving, desire, and then suddenly eat perfectly, in inverted commas. And quite often people attempt that in January, and sometimes they last a few days and sometimes they last for a few weeks. And what's more important is that if you zoom out from January and look at an entire year, you are better off building up momentum and having consistency that started off slow and then built up bigger but more consistent throughout a whole year than having an amazing January and then going back to old behaviors, perhaps in February or March onwards. So momentum is key. And one of the things you will hear in this hypnosis session is the idea that a blip is not a problem so long as it remains a blip. And what keeps it being a blip is to go back to whatever the progress and whatever the momentum is that you were building before. And if there is a stop in progress, then that's the time to get highly motivated to build the momentum again. The second thing is emotional eating. And sometimes people say that emotional eating isn't real and it's just a lack of willpower. And as someone that's been doing this for over 10 years, I just know that that isn't true. And the reason is that eating works to temporarily change your emotions. So if you're very angry or frustrated or stressed or you've got procrastination because you're hesitating, then food can change how you feel, and it does. It just doesn't last for very long, and it tends to come with other emotions. And a lot of people that emotionally eat have had the experience of a cycle where they don't feel in the right state. They eat, they feel better temporarily, and then they feel guilty, or they feel ashamed, or they feel regrets, and then that puts them in a bad state, and then they eat to get out of that state, and it can feel like a catch-22. It isn't a catch-22. The way to break out of that cycle is to look at it as something that you know is a pattern that happens, and decide in advance what you're going to do the next time you feel a certain way. So the next time you feel bored, what you're going to do instead of eating. The next time you feel angry or frustrated, what you're going to do instead. And one of those things can be exercise, could be a hypnosis session, could be meditation, could be relaxing, could be a glass of water, it could be just a long sigh that just kind of changes your state, nice deep breathing. So many things that you can do. And that's what this hypnosis session is all about. It's about empowering you to take control of emotional eating and to build momentum in whatever your weight loss goal is. If you feel that bespoke hypnosis for you would help you to achieve your weight loss goals, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule a free 30-minute call to explore working with me directly. For now, though, you might find that this session is helpful. So find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a slow, calm breath. As you breathe out, just allow feelings of tension to leave your body in that outward breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Each time, incrementally slowing down the breath, enabling you to feel more and more calm and relaxed, particularly on the outward breath, where you use it as an opportunity to release pressure. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to think of where pressure exists for you. For some people, it's in the chest, the neck, or the shoulders. Sometimes it can feel like it's close to the temple. But as you scan your body for feelings of pressure or tension, give permission to release that tension. And feel it leaving your body on your outward breath. And with each outward breath, feel your eyelids getting heavier and heavier, more and more relaxed, more and more comfortable. That's it. And scan the rest of your body for any feelings of tension. That could be a muscle that's tense that doesn't need to be tense. It could be almost friction when you're breathing in that makes it less smooth. And just feel all of that tension melting away. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine floating back to a time when you were on a beach. Maybe you can see white sands, palm trees, blue skies and clear waters. And I want you to imagine, for some reason, there is a child holding a helium balloon somewhere on that beach. And for some reason, you become transfixed, focusing your attention on that helium balloon, seeing it floating effortlessly in the sky, still attached to the string, perhaps in the hand of a small child. And as you feel more and more relaxed, focus on the balloon, and just imagine that your head on your shoulders starts to feel more and more like that helium balloon, like it's just floating, effortlessly hovering. So any and all tension in your neck and shoulders doesn't need to be there. Feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. I want you to notice the stillness of the water and allow the stillness of the water to represent the stillness of your mind. There are times in your life where your mind is like big waves. But imagine them here, right now, as very shallow waves. That's it. Calm and slow and relaxed. And I want you to imagine that all emotions are like waves. They're temporary. They will come and they will go. Trying to cope with an emotion with food is like trying to stop the waves from breaking on the shore. They will break on the shore anyway. And you don't need food to make an emotion go away. The emotion will go all by itself. The only thing you can do is to facilitate that emotion naturally dissipating. And sometimes it's just time and peace. And sometimes it can be just a deep breath in and out that can dissipate a wave of emotion in seconds. Imagine walking towards where the beach meets the sea, and see a wave hitting the sand. And within seconds, all of the water has either retreated back into the sea or sunk into the sand below. I want you to think of the past when you felt frustrated or angry, annoyed, impatient, and none of those emotions lasted very long. They were going to go anyway. And if your unconscious mind accepts that food isn't helpful to dissipate an emotion, let me know by nodding your head. In fact, all that happens is by eating food to deal with an emotion, you guarantee 2 or 3 more waves that follow. Perhaps regret, guilt, shame, or frustration. So rather than have 4 waves of emotion, why not just have 1 and allow it to disappear all by itself? Breathe in and breathe out. And as you look around this beach, I want you to see something that shouldn't be there. I want you to imagine a child's roundabout, the kind that you would see in a children's park, surrounded by swings and a slide. Yet here it is, on a beach with white sand. And I want you to imagine that the roundabout is stationary, and feel the effort that it takes to move this roundabout. To begin with, it requires effort, strength, good grip of your feet in the sand to push it forward. But once the roundabout starts to spin, notice it requires less and less effort to keep the roundabout spinning. And once you can see the roundabout spinning at a good speed, it's the equivalent of finding a pattern, a rhythm, a routine. You feel it, you experience it, it just feels right. And then I want you to imagine snacking on some savory carbs. Maybe a sandwich, some crisps. And as you imagine snacking on that, just imagine that someone is slowing the roundabout down. He doesn't stop it. It just slows the roundabout down. And all it means is that you have to put more effort now to keep the roundabout spinning. And I want you to think about what consistent activities in your life is the equivalent of the roundabout spinning. Maybe it's regular workouts with a personal trainer. Maybe it's intermittent fasting, having an eating window and sticking to it day after day. Maybe when you feel frustrated or annoyed or angry, there's ways of dealing with that temporary emotion that don't involve food. And I want you to imagine these things happening in your life, in your home, in your workplace, day after day after day, as you imagine that roundabout spinning and spinning. And as the roundabout keeps spinning, imagine that your weight is coming off your body. Just like time lapse or a training montage in a movie, just imagine as the roundabout keeps spinning, body fat is turning into a more lean, slimmer physique. And as the weight comes off, your confidence increases. A sense of control and peace and temperament. Almost treat it like a seesaw, that as weight goes down, the quality of your life goes up. And every now and then, just imagine the roundabout stops. And it could stop for many different reasons. Maybe there's a change in routine, maybe something happens. But if the roundabout stops for a few minutes or even a day, no harm done, because you've already made so much progress. But I want you to think that when the roundabout stops, you are unlocking an incredible amount of motivation and determination to get the roundabout spinning again. A blip is just a blip. But if a blip goes further than a few days, it becomes a trend. And I want you to get a sense. In life, in friendships, in work, there's always blips. But you stay the course. You focus on the future. You work around that blip. So allow yourself to have the occasional non-perfect day. Go easy on yourself. The more the game is winnable, the more you want to play. And you could lose a lot of weight over a year. Even if 5 or 10% of your days aren't great, as long as the majority are. The worst thing that could happen is to have a bad afternoon, a bad day, and allow the blip to make the roundabout spin in the opposite direction. And I want you to imagine that that happens. Imagine a stranger comes over to the roundabout, stops the roundabout going in your direction and pushes it in the opposite direction. Feel your body getting heavier, your energy getting more lethargic, your temperament changing so you become more irritable. And decide that this is not who you want to be. The quality of your life moves forwards, improves. So feel yourself pushing against that stranger on the roundabout, pushing it the other way, like a tug of war in reverse, until you succeed. See the stranger move away from the roundabout and then feel it moving in the right direction again. And feel how good it feels to be making progress. I want you to allow the roundabout to keep spinning. And just imagine you want to walk along the beach by the sea. And I want you to imagine up ahead you can see very deep holes. And it would be ridiculous to walk down a beach to see the holes up ahead and to walk straight towards them. The intuitive thing to do in life would be to see the pitfalls and to navigate around them. And I want you to know that one of your pitfalls is the emotion that comes from the dynamics of people. So you can see those holes on the horizon and in advance know that if your mood shifts because of bickering children, the interference of others, or even an argument, that doesn't have to mean that your roundabout stops. It could just mean that you do something else to allow that emotion to drift away. And in doing so, you avoid the pitfalls that can set you back and feel like you're making more and more progress. I want you to imagine you're going forwards in time and finding yourself on the exact same beach 1 year in the future. See that the roundabout is still spinning. See the waves still dissipate into the sand. But notice how much lighter you feel on that beach. Imagine someone takes a picture of you and shows you the picture perhaps on their phone, and you can see how much weight you've lost in a year just by doing consistently useful things over a long period of time. And if that future, slimmer, healthier version of you looks appealing to your conscious and unconscious mind, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. This is not just a possibility. If you keep that roundabout spinning, this becomes your destiny. It becomes your future. A future that you can engineer through your choices and by avoiding pitfalls. Feel the sun melt away all that tension. Recharge your batteries of resourcefulness, and then feel like you're returning to the present with a desire to build momentum in your life, to treat blips as blips and emotions as waves that will dissipate all by themselves. As you return to the present, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect fully with the present moment as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.